What's up, you guys? Happy.
What are you doing, a gray sweatshirt?
Happy Friday. Stop. How are you guys? We are tired. So it turns out that when you haven't gone out of the house in 8 weeks and then you go back to coaching for a fair amount of hours, it's kind of tiring, but awesome at the same time. It's amazing in the moment. Hi, Nate. And then later we're like, oh, it turns out when you're actually coaching in real life, it's a little more tiring. But all right, guys. So we want to talk. We're continuing our chat about removing judgment, moving away from that. How do we actually make changes? How do we bring awareness and observation to our life? And then how do we actually make it stick? So we hear that question a lot, like, I have all the knowledge, I know all the things, I did it for a while, and then, right? And so I was on a discovery call yesterday, and I got asked that question, and we've heard it quite a bit. So we kind of wanted to dive into that with you guys today and give you some tips on how do you actually make these shifts stick with you so that it becomes your new normal.
Well, and I think, yet again, you guys, this is, like Courtney said, this is, I would say, probably one of the big things that we see reoccur when we start working with people of like, I listen to podcasts all the time. I did this thing back in the day, right? Like I know what I should be doing, but is usually followed after that. And so what we try to, get across on there is there's a difference between knowing what to do and embodying what you are, right? Like the same thing of like, knowledge is power. No, knowledge is potential power. If you don't use it, right? Like, I think that's the part that we see with a lot of our clients, because most of the people we work with are, people that strive for achievement, that want to aspire to more, want to make change in their lives. And so they constantly are seeking out information. They're seeking out new things. And, especially the world that we live in nowadays, the great thing about it is you can get information anywhere, right? Like it's not like you have to seek out information and you're just stuck with what's in the newspaper like it was 60 years ago, right? Like you can search out by simply just asking Siri something, and she will search out any. I'm surprised she didn't come on, right? But like she'll search out any information that you ask her, right? Like our kids say that all the time. Well, ask Siri, right? Like, but it's on the side of it. You probably don't need more education. Right? I think that's the other part that we fall into is you don't need more education. You don't need more knowledge. You need to actually embody the things that you're trying to aspire to do, right? Like the simple thing that we try to get our clients to understand is you have to become the type of person that you want to be in order to achieve the things you want, right? Like you have to look at things of like, well, if I don't want to have judgment in my life, what is the type of person that would embody those things, right? Like if I want to become a high achieving professional, what would that look like, right? Like look outside yourself and kind of see, people that you admire and see other people who might have the answers that you would like to kind of model and follow and try to follow in those footsteps. Make it your own, right? Like it doesn't have to be a copied image of that, but make it your own as far as those goes. But I think that's one of the absolute common things that we see over and over and over again is that statement of like, well, I know what to do, but, right? And so yet again, guys, I will highly encourage you, go back. This is episode 55, is that what you said? Yep. This is episode 55. Like go back through there, right? Like I think we'll probably have to start going through the Rolodex of these things again. But yet again, are the things that you want in your life, are they conflicting with your values? Are they conflicting with your rules? Do you have unrealistic rules? Do you have unrealistic expectations for what you want of yourself, right? Like yet again, if those are true, you're probably going to see also aspects of judgment come up in through those, right? Because the rules in which you're putting upon yourself of what needs to happen in order for you to experience the things that you're wanting to experience probably don't align with what you're wanting to experience. So you're seeing some confliction, which in turn turns to judgment, which in turn to kind of falls down that cycle that we tend to see with a lot of the people that we see as far as what they tend to get over and over and over again. So it's not just you need knowledge. It's not just you need more information. You need to embody the things that in which you want to be.
Right. And I think exactly what Brandon said is like, who do you have to be? Right. And most of the time, what question do people ask? What do I have to do? What do I have to do to get to that spot?
It's not the how.
It's not the how. It's who do you have to be and how do you have to show up? And the beautiful thing about that is like, you can be that person right now, but you have to make a choice. And that's the thing. And so that was the answer to my question yesterday was that, it got drilled into me when I was going through my own journey. It was like, we're going to embody this, right? We're not worrying about coaching it. We're not worrying about any of that. We're worrying about doing the things every single day to make sure that we're actually becoming this thing. And so when we talk about awareness, this is the thing that I think is really, really important, is when we say awareness, observation, non-judgment, that's every single day, every single conversation, every single thing you do all the time. It's not like, well, I checked in and I did this for a day and now I'm good, right? Like it's a constant learning. It's a constant journey, because you're going to change from who you were yesterday. You're going to have different awareness, different observations, different, all these things. Like we do it all the time. Like we'll say like, wow, I just caught myself in judgment, right? I had this awareness around this. Like it's a always growing, learning, looking inward thing. But again, if you don't have the practices, like we talked about yesterday, and I was talking to one of my other clients about this earlier in the week of, she was like, when the pandemic started, I kind of got out of my routine. I'm not doing my morning stuff anymore. And I just kind of feel blah, right? Got back into it this week, and she's like, I can't believe how much better I feel, right? This isn't like personal development, being the best version of yourself isn't a set it and forget it thing. It's not like you learn it once and you're like, all right, I'm good, I got that covered, right? Like it's a continuous effort and intention of, who do you want to be that day? How do you want to show up? And so it's putting those things into place. What does your morning look like? And I guarantee you guys, if you can get in the habit of doing those things in the morning, setting your intentions, you're going to feel like you're already successful. You're going to know how you want to show up. You're going to have creation, and you don't need to control things. You're going to be able to create the energy and the life and the feelings that you desire every single day, right? And like I've heard this from a couple people this week, right? Every day that ends in Y, right? Saturday, Sunday are no different, right? It's not like you do this 5 days a week. It's like you get to show up for yourself. You have to show up for yourself every single day and decide, right? Decide that you want to be aware. Decide that you want to observe yourself. Decide that you want to shift. Look at your stories every single day, because they show back up. They show back up in different ways. They're still there. You still get to love them, right? But this is just something that you're doing all the time. It gets easier. It happens faster, right? It used to be like, I do like the awareness stuff, and I'd be like, okay, I got to write that down, and then I got to spend quiet time and actually go and think about that. And now in the moment, I can catch myself, like stories coming up, identities coming up, stuff coming up for me. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I get to shift that right now. And I can literally be having a conversation as I shift it, right? But like it's not a set it and forget it thing. It's something you've got to do. And I think for most people, especially in the beginning, like the way to make it stick is to have a program, have a coach, have an account, like have a buddy, like have your husband, your wife, you're somebody that you're on this journey. I'm kind of, oh, are we back? I love the internet, right? Like you need to be with other people on this journey, because it's easy, but it's not necessarily simple, but it's not necessarily easy, right? So find a group of people that can hold you accountable, get a coach that can help walk you through it. Like we would not be where we are without our mentors, without our coaches, without the groups, without each other, right? Like we catch each other all the time of like, so what's really going on here, right? And we can have those conversations now where it's like, okay, well, what's actually going on? And we can ask each other hard questions. And sometimes we ask each other questions and I'm like, I don't want you to coach me right now, but that's what I need, right? But like, you need that support. You need it. And it's not someone to tell you what to do. It's someone to continue to hold you to the best version of yourself, right? Like when we start with our clients, we always have them write a letter from themselves 6 months or a year from now to themselves now, right? So we can see what is the best version of them. And then all we do is we show up for them only seeing that version of them. Like we don't see the version that's trying to get to that version. We see the best version of them and we hold them to that ask, right? In a loving way, sometimes in a very honest way, but like we hold them to their ask and we hold each other to our ask, because the only way you're going to get there is if you have that, you have support, you have mentorship, you have those people that are on your journey with you and you get to grow with them. And it's a lot more fun that way too.
Well, and why is that so important is because, we talked about that yesterday, right? Like when I tell myself something, that's the beauty of journaling and writing stuff down, is because it's trapped in that moment in time, right? Like it's the same thing of having a spouse or especially a coach or somebody else that's going to be there to hold you to the things that you want to aspire to, but at the same time, be able to really identify and say like, okay, you're doing these things right now, but if I'm on this thing on my own, and because gone through this, and luckily I've had Court and my other mentors and other coaches really be able to point these things out and be able to identify these things for myself, is because when I'm going through something and I, yet again, what my brain wants to do is it wants to show me that I'm right? Like we don't like being wrong, right? Like human beings don't like to be wrong on anything. And so when I'm going through this just on my own accord and doing my own thing or whatever it may be, when stories or protectors or whatever show up, and even if I'm aware of them, the next thing that follows that is the story in my head to validate and justify my actions behind that, right? And so having somebody that is going to understand what is it that you want, what is it that you want to aspire to, that's going to allow you to really shed back those stories and those protectors and be like, well, shit. Right? Like, how many times have you've done that to me? Like, well, damn it. I don't have a rebuttal for that, because in all actuality, that's true. Right? And it's just part of who we are, right? Like that's aspects of human nature of that we want to be right. And so that's why it's so important while you're going through this, you guys, is also as you're going through the embodiment phase of this, but also to have other things outside yourself to be able to ask you questions. Because yet again, when you ask different questions, you're going to get different results and different answers. And when you can get different questions, that's going to require you to focus on something different, which is also going to direct you into a different direction than what you were previously going.
Yeah. Well, if you're doing it on your own, like, I know I'll do this. I'll kind of know the answer I want to have. So I ask the question and I get to have that answer too. Right? Even if that's not the answer that's like actually the answer I want, I'm like, well, if I want to justify this answer, I'm going to ask this question. Right? And then he asked me a question. I'm like, that's not the way I wanted this to go, even though I know it's the right way, right? We all have our protectors. We all have the things that will, like, it's consistency. It's as you start to make those shifts, it's learning to grow out of those, right? And the thing we need you guys to understand too is that, like, growth is always outside of your comfort zone. And as humans, we fight like hell to stay inside of our comfort zone, right? And so, hi Josh, like, we all try to stay inside of our comfort zone. Like, it's just safe, it's secure. And so it's like, you need someone that can help you get outside of that comfort zone and still feel safe, right? Still feel like you're supported, still feel like it's okay to grow. And the cool thing about getting outside of your comfort zone is it's really fun when you go there, because you're like, oh, this is awesome, right? It's exciting again. It's like, God, it feels so good not to be stuck, right? And so we just encourage you guys, like, if you're reading books and you're listening to podcasts, like, actually implement the stuff, right? Like, if you need a coach, if you want to know more about what we do, reach out. If you want to know more about our group programs, reach out. Like, and if we're not the coach for you, that's cool, but go find somebody that's doing what you want to do, and go talk to them and see what they're doing and find out, how do you do that for your life, right? Because so often it's like, oh, but next year, next month, next whatever, right? And all of a sudden you're like, well, now I've been in quarantine for 60 days and I could have taken all this time and done something different, and I could have shifted and I didn't, right? So, like, take the moment now. Understand, I want to get, like, you need to get out of your comfort zone. Make yourself take that step to get out of your comfort zone, whether that's sending us a message, whether it's DMing a friend and being like, I want to do this, whatever it is, whether it's telling your spouse, like, hey, I want to go back to school, I want to get this education, I want to shift something. Like, get outside of your comfort zone, and then understand that it's safe to do that, and that when you do that, everything opens up. All right. All right, guys. We love and appreciate you guys. We'll probably, I don't know about tomorrow, but we're definitely not going to be here on Sunday. But
it's Friday.
I know. Yeah. We'll for sure be Monday through Friday from now on. So if you guys need anything, you need to support, we hope you have an amazing weekend. But reach out. We'd love to hear your questions, or if there's any way we can support you, we'd love to do that for you too. So have an awesome Friday, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks always, all.
Bye, guys.